We're recording.
Great. Well, let's call this meeting of the Housing Authority of the County of Monterey Board of Commissioners to order here. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call.
Chair Hans Bruder,
Present.
Vice Chair Kathleen Bellasaro.
Present.
Commissioner Kevin Healy, running late. Commissioner Francine Goodwin,
Present.
Commissioner Maria Rosa.
Present.
Commissioner Yuri Anderson.
Here.
And that concludes the roll call vote.
Okay, great. And then the third item on the agenda is comments from the public. Gabby, is there anybody in person here? I haven't seen anybody.
There's no one in person. Do we have anyone on the line?
Yes, I would like to speak.
All right, John, you got 3 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners. Given the fact I have a 3-minute cap here, the following, in the fact that the following may exceed 3 minutes, I've just now sent a transcript of my public comment to Ms. Rivera. Given it's important to me, this is being presented, quote, for the record. And as a consequence, I request that it be part of tonight's HACM board meeting minutes. What I'm about to say is intended to bring HACM's board up to speed with respect to Michi's position on HACM's current stonewalling of something that was promised to be done 90 days, in 90 days. And that promise was made almost a year ago. Long-sitting commissioners are, or should be, aware of Michi's many and frequent complaints relating to HACM's positive malperformance under contracts with Michi, as well as with HACM variances with California law. Commissioners have historically ignored my comments or made threats against me for saying anything negative about HACM or HDC. HACM's board has even admonished me via HACM board resolutions for internally challenging HACM staff substandard and or illegal activities. The current HACM board membership can continue in its historical breaches of fiduciary responsibilities by turning a blind eye to the seriousness of issues before it. Issues that range from simple chronic staff ineptness to management's perceived quasi-criminal behavior and using intrafund as a euphemism for intentional conversion. And while HACM is undoubtedly aware that conversion in California is a tort, which allows the injured party to seek legal relief, HACM should also be aware that Michi's relief for damages could go back decades. However, the board should the board continue in its historical apathetic trend, I suggest the board formally vote on it so the naysayers can seek potential insulation from personal liability. The salient issues that Michi has with HACM are many, too many to list here, but the following two are reflective of the seriousness, both financially and legally. For one, ignoring a formally written Freedom of Information Act request. California requires Freedom of Information request responses within 10 days. That deadline is long since passed, sans any comment from HACM. Granted, while a former HACM chairman has advised myself and Michi in the past that HACM's board does not get involved in HACM's day-to-day activities, as it has more important things to do. In this case, it would be prudent for HACM's governing body to encourage compliance with California and federal law. On a second issue, equally as important as the first, HACM's consultants have arbitrarily, quote, adjusted, unquote, an intrafund balance by over $2,300,000 from HACM owing Michi approximately $1.7 million to Michi now owing HACM $617,000 odd, without explanation, much less backup of evidence supporting HACM's vendors' findings. The subject adjustment was sprung on Michi, i.e. without warning, during a Zoom conference call on October 30th. When responding to a question as to the logic for the adjustment of HACM's HDC could only respond by saying, well, two other organizations had done the analysis. Are you cutting me off?
Unfortunately, it's time, but we appreciate those comments. If you could please forward those to us, and we can review the balance of the comments.
Okay, my name is Nancy. I'd like to be a public when I'd like to speak to.
Thanks, Nancy. You've got 3 minutes as well.
Okay, thank you. So continuing on, the two things that could explain the wild adjustment might be that HACM consultants are an F, or that HACM and or HDC provided their consultants with flawed or incomplete information. Given that HACM departments have a history of providing flawed data, for example, where HACM's property management knowingly falsified a report to the county that HACM's current ED subsequently attested to as being correct, Michi suspect it was flawed information being provided to the consultant. Michi has been requested a meeting with the principals of HACM, HDC, Novogradac, and the unnamed consultants for almost a month since the October 30th meeting, only to hear silence from HACM or excuses for needed delays. Delays have been a HACM hallmark with respect to Michi under many administrations. In response to a Michi demand for a forensic accounting analysis to be performed by a third party to examine suspected inappropriate expensive allocations, it took HACM 3 years to produce a report of some 3 pages that did not even cover Michi's areas of concern. Michi is patient no longer. It has been more accommodating to HACM than ever should be. For over a decade of patience is enough. It is our understanding that there will be a requested meeting to resolve the 2.3 million adjustment this week. The dates of November 28th and 29th have been mentioned. A prior HACM board chairman, who was also a HACM appointed Michi board member, in open session told Michi board on January 11th, 2023, that he would champion the MOU, which includes the interfund reconciliation, and would introduce his efforts to the HACM board on January 23rd, 2023. That never happened, nor has much ever since January 11th. In the spirit of transparency, so that the HACM board is well apprised of the consequences of ignoring legitimate Michi demands of the interfund fiasco, it is a definite, if a definitive resolution is not attained and approved by the HACM board by midnight, November 30th, so that the said agreement can be formally consented to the Michi board during the December 1st, 2023 special meeting, we will be asking Michi's board to direct its executive director to communicate to the following entities of the HACM's issues. The Monterey County District Attorney for suspected conversion, the California State Real Estate Department on illegally performing property management services on Michi property, non-HACM owned properties, without benefit of the requisite broker's license, HUD on a myriad of irregularities, Michi's attorney to sue for the FLIA performance, and possible media outlets. Thank you for your time. We wish you to have a very productive meeting tonight.
Thank you, Nancy. Are there any other folks wishing to speak tonight? Okay, we're going to move on to item number 4, which is the presentation of a service award.
Okay. She's not here, but Monica Corello has been an employee for 15 years. And we're going to be giving her a certificate of service. And I guess putting it in the newsletter, the HACM newsletter, so we will give it to her formally tomorrow since she's not here today.
Congratulations, Monica. Okay, we're going to move on to item 5, which is the consent agenda. And this is approval of the minutes of the annual board meeting. Annual meeting. I think of just the board meeting.
No, in September was the annual. I think I voted.
Oh, okay. Held on September 25th, 2024.
So moved.
Okay, roll call. Chair Hans Buda,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kathleen Belisari,
Yes.
Commissioner Kevin Healy,
Yes.
Commissioner Francine Goodwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Maria Rosta.
Yes.
And Commissioner Yuri Anderson.
Yes.
That concludes the vote.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 6, which is reports of committees. And we are going to start with the personnel committee. Commissioner Ballesteros to the Personnel Committee.
We did not have a meeting.
Okay, the Finance and Development Committee did not have a meeting this month. Zulika, I'm assuming that you didn't attend as a meeting. Okay.
No.
All right, well, we are gonna move on to item 7, which is report of the secretary. You're gonna take it away.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to start by saying I want to give just an informational update on the FLC rent increases. We still haven't received the approval from USDA. The rents are supposed to be effective January 2024. That date is gonna have to be pushed back. But we do have a meeting scheduled to talk to them to address the concerns. And hopefully we will have an approval soon so that we can get a 60-day notice to the tenants and also answer any questions from the public as far as what the actual rents will be. We got our HUD-CMAP score. We scored a standard. We do have some room to grow, but I think that was a good report for us, considering some of the things that we've been faced with in this past year and from the COVID times that the agency has went through. But we're striving to be a high performer next year. The corrective action plan was submitted and accepted by HUD for the VMS. I'm waiting on the official closeout for that. We have some PBB technical assistance scheduled to come on site December the 18th through the 20th. This is the second part of the training that we were getting in regards to the violation letter for the Home Keys project. So this will be the final training. They came in, they did the development side, they did the audit, and now they'll do the Section 8 side and then a recap. And then let's see, the agency vouchers. I worked with the HUD representative to get a final count of our actual vouchers because the numbers were not adding up on the various reports. And the agency was awarded additional vouchers last year in October, but it wasn't placed in the system or noted on the board meetings. So once adding those vouchers in, our allocation is actually 5,117 vouchers in total. So I did a breakout of the count. It's 265 EHVs. We did lose 4 because of the September 30th deadline, 324 BASH, 65 FYI, 42 family unification, 59 mainstream, and then 4,362 regular HCV vouchers. As far as the EHV, we did lose 4 vouchers because of the first deadline that HUD put in, but I am very confident that we will receive more EHV vouchers. They put out a list of all the agencies that they're gonna recapture vouchers from. We were not on that list. And so since we're right at like 90% utilization, really maybe like 95, when they redistribute, we should get some more. The city of Salinas got a 90-day extension on the PBB violation. They having problems completing their final item, so we will not be released entirely until they complete that. We working with the city right now. They're gonna make a presentation to the city council to give us the award for incentives to help all HCV recipients. The amount is $331,000. So we'll have more information on that after the December 5th board meeting.
I'm mute, right?
We are working with the county on the bridge funding application. That's going very well. Other than that, the main things that I would like to say is that we have draft audits for the financial year 22 for HACM and HDC. We're anticipating getting the final audits probably about the first week in December, and then we'll start the 23, which we actually already started gathering information. So the agency will be up to date on our audits. Development, we have a lot of potential projects going on, so you'll be getting more information on that once we get the plans finalized so that we can get ready to put in some applications. And we're working with East Garrison for the HAP contract. They got 15 PBB units over there. Let's see. And other than that, basically, I'm just still meeting with the staff, meeting with our outside partners and getting some things lined up. But I think the agency is going in a good direction and morale seems to be up. And that concludes my report. Oh, 1 second, I'm sorry. The retreat. I did put some suggested days on there. Since this is the first one, I thought, why don't we just go to the Marriott down in Monterey and stay there like a Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday. I already got a price on the meeting room If we want to stay there, I can get a price on the hotel room. Since we don't have a group of 10, we won't get a big discount, but we probably still can get a discount. And we can go in there, have a whole day, and then come back for a half a day. And that way it won't really mess up anybody's schedule, and this will be the first one with us. And if we can do it in January, I think that'll really be great if it worked for your schedule, only because I think it's important that we start setting goals for the agency for the year. And so the sooner that we meet and we kind of strategize, then we can give that to the employees to let them know what direction we want to go in. But if that day doesn't work, I did put some more, and they've already confirmed that they are available for the 18th through the 19th if we want to use that. But I told them that we'll reach back out.
That's great. Yeah, I mean,
I think that's great.
I know we've been talking about having a board retreat, since I've been here, which is coming on 4 years, I think. And so I reached out to the league and was like, hey, we really need one. And I think this would be, like you said, just to step back a little bit from the day to day and set some clear.
Yeah, and get away from the authority. And see, even though the housing authority is on a 7-1 calendar fiscal year, most of the limited partnerships and the Section 8, all that's a calendar year.
Yeah.
So if we do something in December, we really can set goals that affect the latter half of our housing authority budget, but the overall year. So we'll know where we want to be next December.
Yeah, okay, that sounds great.
I'm having surgery in late December and I don't think I'm gonna be cleared to drive by that first weekend in June and January.
Okay, these
I
just
think
some
that- okay.
suggestions, but.
The second one probably.
Yeah, that's the one I really was looking at too,
Yeah.
what the second.
I'm gonna say the same thing. I've got the commitment on the first week.
Yeah, if it works for everybody, let me know and I'll go ahead and book it. And then just let me know if you want a room, so I can let the lady know how many rooms. So that if we there, we can have like a breakfast, make it a real retreat experience. And then the next day we'll have a room to like 9 to 1. So you can check out and go in there, finalize whatever we decided, and then everybody can.
Good idea.
Love that idea. Okay, well, thanks for putting that together.
Question,
Gabby.
as far as I see my development on here, is there a plan for some sort of a comprehensive presentation of their various interactions? I was
yeah,
thinking about in terms of sequence for the retreat, having their learnings and what they've been able to absorb from the various department meetings and trainings that they've had as a.
Well, we actually gonna do it for each consultant. We'll have a breakdown of each department. And then the consultants that we had for that department, the influence that it had, so if it was positive or negative, and what areas we need to look at. Because this year, because of, staffing and transition, we did have a number of consultants helping us and a lot of free TA from HUD. So I've gotten all those reports back and got all of the input as to what we need to do for next steps. Some of it we already did, some of it is ongoing. But that's why I said we do a retreat, we can just go, Section 8 development and really get into all of it. And retreats are not required to do the Open Meetings Act or none of that. So it doesn't have to be open to the public. It's just us discussing what we want to do for the agency.
Marvelous. Thank you.
Any other questions on that executive report? Okay, we're gonna move on to item 8, which is information items. Item 8A is the human resources report.
Good evening, everyone. So just quickly, I just want to highlight a couple of things on my report for this month. So the MOU changes that was implemented and passed in October of late have been implemented, and everyone had received their cost of living increase as of 11/3 paycheck. And then to also address the workers' compensation, I know that we brought that up in the past 2 board meetings about kind of combating that and trying to reduce the claims overall. So we did partner up with Cariva Care. Cariva Care is a free service that's offered through a workers' comp already insurance service. And what they do is they kind of streamline the calls. If an employee gets injured, they will call that number and then they will be connected to a health professional who can determine exactly and assess them whether they need to take ibuprofen or Tylenol or actually go to the urgent care to get treated. So this will also help streamline, the claims that we've been having that's increased. Right now, we're sitting at 22 for the year, which is really huge for 2023. And also towards the end of the report, you'll see kind of the breakdown. I did kind of do a different change on it. It's broken down by department to kind of to showcase exactly how much claims we have for each department. And then also for this month and next month, our focus is on the end of the year training. We did partner up with Yardi to get training for finance and property management, which they'll be hosting about 4 to 5 days here. So hopefully that will be kind of a refresher course for everyone, especially for the agency, because we've been struggling on implementing and maximizing that platform that we have, that we paid a lot of money for every year. And then also we do have the upcoming HCV project-based training that's also going to be happening in December as well. We did conclude the open enrollment for October. Everything went really smooth. The team was also informed about all the changes. And just recently, we just got notice that Anthem had ended their MOU and solidified their negotiations, and we are going to continue to have the service with Anthem as part of our insurance plan. I know that was a big thing for a lot of employees in the agency, that they had to switch to a different carrier, but now I'm happy to report that as well. In regards to recruitment and staffing, we do have the 2 vacant positions open, which is the Director of Housing Programs and also the Housing Development Analyst. As a temporary move, we actually promoted Diana Ruiz, who is here today, first time at the board meeting, as interim Director of Housing Programs. So congratulations to Diana. We also hired a few other people, Ricardo, our new HPS, and then Guadalupe, a resident caretaker, Priscilla Ayala, resident caretaker. Giovanna was also promoted from finance into our housing program analyst, and then Priscilla was a temp office assistant, and now she is our office assistant in Section 8. Terminated employees is Cesar de la Cruz, which is our warehouse specialist, Alicia Calderon, which is our temporary housing program specialist, and Eli, which is our temporary maintenance employee. As I mentioned last month, we started with 14 temps. Now we only have 1 now. So we're hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have at least 0. So we have permanent employees here. And then also, I'm also happy to report that employee relations claim, we had 6 outstanding for the year, but we have 0 now. So we are good with that. And that concludes my report. If there's any questions.
Questions on the HR report? Well, I know that Director of Housing Programs position is, an important one. Sounds like I've heard really good things, that we have an awesome interim. But, on that point, any thoughts on, I think we raised the salary range on it, right? Thoughts on the marketing of it? I mean, Zulika, do we need to get you out on the conference circuit to go and poach somebody?
I think what it is, it's just a shortage on HCV administration, because HUD came out of public house. So they going over to multifamily, which need more PDV and rad choice mobility. So it's kind of hard to get a good HCV director. And then a lot of people want to work remote now.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing. That's more even than the salary. They want to be at home and work, and we just not at the point that we can go paperless and go remote. Hopefully we will be before the end of next year. But right now we need boots on the ground. And so that was a big deterrent for a lot of people who could have got the job.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe some Monterey County postcards for those of you in see if that works. Okay, I think the next item is the financial.
So Mike is on vacation, so I will be doing his report for him. For the audits, I wanted to update this, that we have closed the King City 22 audit and the Parkside 22 audit. And then also, as Zulika said, we got drafts on the HACM 22 and the HDC 22. And then BDO is still helping us, and we've reduced our personnel from 14 to 7. And what they're doing is should amount to about 9 staff members. Also, we're starting to use we've been using an app called Smartsheet, which allows you to attach different things so you can keep track of them better. And we're going to be doing all the financial documents for Zulika on there, so she'll be able to go through each month, and everything will be attached in one sheet. And so it'll be easier for her to find things. Also for us to keep up on our due dates. And then so we're working on implementing some new software with Yardi, which you've heard about, Rent Cafe, and that will allow tenants to
pay electronically, so that'll affect the finance department and really save us some time. Also pay scan, so that's in the future, and that will be paperless AP processing. We're working on cash management and reviewing like the management fees and bookkeeping fees, and also just having more checks and balances and reviews on that. And then so for our performance, HACM is performing to budget. And then HDC is a little under, but that's mostly because of a timing issue related to like our development fees, getting collection of those. So that could change within, later in the year. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
I just wanna add that when we do the pay scan, that's one of the first steps in us really getting our finances even more transparent, and then getting all the checks and balances in place, because everything will go through email. And it'll check out the time and they when somebody approved it or not approved it, and all the limits will be in there. So that way, we won't have to worry about the procurement issues that we had in the past, where we had all the audit findings. It'll already be in the system. So that's gonna be really good. And then with BDO is helping them reorganize the finance report. So instead of getting this big packet of like 40 or 50 pages, you'll get the backup, but you'll have like 2 sheets that'll really give you a very transparent snapshot of what's going on, money coming in, going out, and where it's actually at. Because right now it's not bundled, but it's more so HECM HDC. But I want you to be able to see what property is doing good. So if you look at PDM, you can see how it's doing. You look at one part side, because sometimes when you just see the total amount, it make it seem like it's a really good picture, but you can have properties that are suffering. So they're working on creating that right now.
Questions?
I just have a question. I know that not everybody has access to emails, and some of the tenants may have difficulties.
We're gonna put up stations at the property manager
Oh,
office.
good.
So there's
Good,
2 or 3 computers, because we have some old computers, but they still work good. And so they'll be on site, and then the property manager will be there to help them too. Plus you can do it on your phones too.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a consultant, but it was, I think somebody who acts as a consultant who presented to the board at some point. Do you remember this?
Consultant that presented at.
Presented
at some point.
About sort of how we can have a better dashboard
Mhm.
on finances
Oh, yeah.
for the board. And I do think that there's some room there.
Oh, yeah, the packet could be much better. And so the first one we sent out, make sure you put your comments on it, because we want to custom it. But I just think it need to be a little more transparent, So, because you have a lot of properties, there's a lot of cash that comes in and out, and so it'd be great to see who's really performing well.
Yeah, I think there's some key metrics
Mhm.
that would be important to look at. So maybe a topic for the retreat. Okay, we're gonna move on to the property management report.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Just following up on the comments that we were talking about right now, Bank of a property management should be ready to go online by December 1st for most of our portfolio, except for the rat size. We set up the bank accounts, but we want to do a trial before we actually start allowing tenants to pay rents online, just to make sure that the system is working properly. So we're working with Myra and Yardley on that process. We set up everything, we'll leave everything ready. We want to do a trial before. Like Sulika mentioned, for most of the sites that we don't have computer labs on, we're gonna be installing a few computers. And also especially for the senior sites, we're reaching out to agencies in the community like Alliance on Aging or assistance for seniors, and just trying to help them pass on the information, train people how to do things on the computer. And we're going to be having meetings with the residents in the next weeks to actually go over that information with them, but then we'll also be providing that information and how to those agencies so that they can be there as reference as well in case of the residents need assistance. So we want to try to provide as many tools and assistance as possible to the residents to make the transition easier. It will benefit everyone. I mean, they won't have to do anything other than log into the computer, pay the rent. All of their certifications will be done online. Everything will be done online, which will cut down on the mailing that we do, the amount of mailing and letters that go out. It will also cut down on the time that we have to spend meeting one-on-one with the residents. So it's just a benefit overall for the tenants as well as for the agency. So we are working on that, and that process, it's going, it's going to be a continuing work in progress as we find any issues with the processes to address them at the time. But we're hopeful, and that should be in effect, and hopefully up and running 100% by the first of the year. We've also been since July, we've been bombarded with audits. Right now, we just had a physical inspection, a remote physical inspection by NEF, which is one of the investors for the RAD sites. We completed all their reports that they requested, and we did inspections remotely. We also completed the CREA inspections for Haciendas 3 and Castroville. We just finished also NEF file that we already sent those for NEF to review. We did the city data uploads for all of the Hacienda sites. And then we had a physical inspection by CCRC, Haciendas 3, 4 in Castroville. That was just happened last week. And we're working on various programs, various projects throughout the portfolio. The King City Migrant Center, the work is moving along. We got a big reimbursement about $600,000 last month, which is gonna allow us to continue to keep that project going. They just finished all the siding, and they're doing the painting. We already sent payment for that, and the work will continue. The center is now closed, which makes it a lot easier for the contractor to get the work completed and done. So that is going. We're working with behavioral health and PDM. We met with them last week. We walked the property. They saw what improvements we need to make to the property. Everybody's excited about the changes that are going to be happening. We're working on relocating the few families that we still have there, and everything is looking good. And hopefully, we'll start some of the work in December. We just need to revise the scope of work to be able to put an RFP so that we can start getting vendors to start rehabbing the site and get all those repairs done. So that's an ongoing process. We have several projects for our portfolio as well. We have some fencing happening in South County. We are looking at replacing some of our tankless water heaters at Haciendas 1 and 2. So we're keeping busy. We had an accident 2 months ago, last month, in one of our properties. A car ran into the unit. There was some damage to the unit. That has already been fixed. It should be completed before the end of this month. And the family didn't have to relocate. They were able to stay in the unit. The damage was just in the exterior wall of the property. So that is being completed. So that's being done. We are working also for Tola Vista. We have a section of the property that needs a repair. Is an bay window that is on the 4th floor. We are looking for bids for that project. It's going to be a substantial cost to make that repair. It's the bay window overlooks the whole building, and it's on the 4th floor. And there's some water intrusion in it, and there's some dry rot that needs to be fixed. So we had involved a couple of contractors that the work is a lot, and some of them don't have either the capabilities of doing it or they don't have availability. So we're reaching out to vendors outside of Monterey County to see if they're able to complete the work. So it's going to be substantial. And once we have an actual report and a full cost, then we will be able to bring that to Sulica and then address that. So that's one of the projects that we're working on with my team. And then Randstad, Sulica mentioned, we're waiting on approval from USDA. So that's another project that we're bringing on that. And that's all I have. I have one eviction pending, which is happening tomorrow. And then we have caretakers that we hired for the FLCs in Castroville. And we're moving around on our rent collection. We're doing that we can. I'm going to be having a meeting with Sulika probably next week, if possible, to go over all the accounts and all the properties to make sure that the rent collection reports in Yardi are accurate and they're mirroring what we are actually collecting at the sites. So we want to make sure that all that is taken care of. We're working with our team. One of the things that also I'm doing for to maximize the efficiency of the department is we're going to be reassigning some of the managers that we had a go live date with that change as of December 1st. But as a request by a lot of the staff, they asked if we can extend it to January 1st. So I will extend it to January 1st to allow them to prepare for the transition. They're moving from one property to another. So that's happening on January 1st. And then I'm also working with some of the maintenance staff because we want to have inventory at the sites. This is a project that we're working. Sulika had given us direction to do this a few months back, and we're trying to remove all the inventory that's in the back cage and avoid staff having to come to the main office constantly to pick up parts. So we want to allocate some equipment, some inventory at the sites. So we're looking at that as well. So that's another project that we're working. So we've been very busy. And I just want to thank Sulika for all of her support and all my staff. They've been, doing a lot with all these audits that we've been having. So I just want to, thank the whole team. And unless you guys have any questions, commissioners, that will be it.
Questions? They're kind of all over the place. One, just, I think the online rent payment is super exciting. I'm wondering, want to make sure that you have the systems in place to ensure security on the computers that we're going to be putting in place.
Yeah, it'll be through the Yardi software and they have built-in security systems. So you have to go to their portals. It's very secure. They use it throughout the United States with all the housing authorities. They've never had any issues because it takes you there and then they have encrypted messages for if your password messed up, stuff like that. Don't let somebody just give out their information. It's highly unlikely that we'll have to worry about anything happen to the resident or our linked bank account.
Yeah, and we also have our IT company doing the installation of all the software and the computers at the site. So they'll make sure that everything is going through a firewall, that it has security ports to avoid any, access to our internal network. So all that's being taken care of by the IT department.
Great. And then one more question. Looking at the waiting list chart that was provided, this is you, right, Jose?
Yeah.
Okay. So wanting to understand these numbers in terms of, are they duplicated counts? Could somebody put themselves on a waiting list for multiple properties? So when we look at almost 3,900 people waiting for a 1-bedroom, are they all?
That's for because each property has its individual wait list.
So could I be on more than one wait list?
Yeah, so you have, for example, on that chart, you have Portola Vista. Portola Vista is its own entity, which with its own wait list. So on that particular wait list, there's 81 persons on the 1-bedroom. And then you have each project will have its own 1-bedroom wait list. So the total number in the entire portfolio is the number that you see at the bottom.
And do we ever dedupe that to get a sense of like how many people are actually waiting? This is how might be, I'm on 6 different wait lists kind of thing.
Yeah, so what we do is we purge the list normally like every 2 years. We try to purge it every 2 years to make sure that, people are still interested, that they are still want to be considered to be the complex. So we send out letters and we let people know the name of this wait list, are you still interested? And if they're not, and then they'll check the box and say, no, I'm not interested in property A, B, or C, and then at that point we remove that.
Okay.
But we try to do that to avoid having stale wait lists where we have people that are there for a long time. And sometimes they move, they're not interested anymore, they move out of state.
Mhm.
And we just want to kind of keep the fresh list with people that are actually interested. And that way, when we have a vacancy, we are able to call people that are actually going to respond.
Mhm.
Because we have a lot of, sometimes when we have one wing list, we have to send, 40, 60 letters for just that one wing list. Because sometimes people won't respond, sometimes they won't even get the letter. They're no longer interested, or they might have changed jobs and now they're qualified. So we have to constantly keep the wait list fresh.
So from a policy and like a forward visionary planning conversation perspective, it'd be really interesting to see like, what is that unduplicated number of people who are waiting for each property type? Because right now, I don't know if that 3,900, 3,800 is,
That you can
Is
find
it-
about how many waiting.
is
for a
it-
person can be on.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then also, am I correct in assuming that if I'm waiting for a 1-bedroom, it could be anywhere from 1 to 4 people that would be impacted? Or would it,
It's only 2 people a bedroom.
do you let people live in living rooms? Because sometimes like with a regular apartment, I could have
They
2
did that
people in a
before, but
bedroom.
we really aren't supposed to do that, and we changed our policy not too long ago, where everybody get their own room.
Mhm.
Because we can't overhouse or underhouse a person.
Okay.
And really, the living room only came into play when people was having live-in aides or something like that. And that was because they couldn't qualify for that 2 or 1 or 2 available, but we have to go by the family size.
Okay,
And then for the waiting list, the thing about the waiting list, all of the properties have different requirements. So that's why you can apply for multiple properties at one time.
Mhm.
Now, what we try to encourage them to do is if they get housed at one property, we try to encourage them to come off the waiting list. But we can't make come off until we actually get to their number, and then if they're not able to move. So some people, they'll sit on every waiting list just in case, because they just want to wait. But you do have a lot of people who they get housed and they'll say, okay, you can take me off all the other ones because I'm in Casanova now, so you can just take me off the other waiting list.
Yeah.
But all of them have different criteria.
And it happens a lot, especially like with tax credit units. So you can be in a tax credit unit, which is, it's an affordable rent, but you're not getting your rent subsidized unless you're in a project-based unit or you have a Section 8 voucher. So if you remove yourself from a property that has subsidy in their rent, then if you get called on that property, you just lost your place by saying remove. So that's why sometimes people don't want to be removed, because I might get called on this property and here I will get my rent subsidized. So I don't want to give up opportunity just by removing myself. So there's a lot of that. And like I mentioned, there's properties that have different criteria, different rent limits. And you might not qualify for one, but you might qualify for another. You won't know that until we actually fall.
And then we'll try to purge more often. They was doing 2 every 2 years, so they had a lot of manual processes. With Rent Cafe and stuff like that, we'll be able to do it at least once a year. That's really recommended to purge once a year, because it'll be more of an electronic process. So that'll take down some of the duplication too. And also, so they did change his report. We trying to give more metrics. So, after y'all get a chance to really look at it, let us know if you like it or if you want something else, because we're working on it, trying to make it a better report.
Yeah, and I will be adding more things to it, just so that you guys can see more of what we do and more visual, so that you can actually see the impact that we have on our portfolio and daily operations and how we're performing overall. So I'll be adding additional data. If you guys have any comments, appreciate it.
Yuri, is that something you want to push for to see if staff can try to figure out that number? Because it's the same, right? You don't know if there's 3,000, unique families looking for a 1-bedroom.
yeah, I mean, and I guess the other question I have is, I guess based on what you're saying, I'm not gonna see somebody on a 1-bedroom wait list and on a 2-bedroom wait list, because our policy wouldn't allow them to live in a 1-bedroom if they're eligible for a 2-bedroom, right?
Yeah, it's gonna only let them apply for the bedroom size that they eligible for.
Yeah.
So when they put their family members in there, it'll tell them, you fit a 2 or 3 or whatever, so they shouldn't be on multiple
Okay.
bedroom sizes.
Yeah, I mean,
They can be
I'm
on multiple properties, but not multiple bedroom sizes.
And also,
I've been interested in it because I'm thinking about, like trying to understand the scope of the challenge that we're facing and what do we need to do from a development perspective, from an advocacy perspective, when we talk about the needs of people in affordable and subsidized housing in Monterey County. I want to be able to say, we have this many families waiting for housing. And
We probably can do a custom report and pull that out of Yardi. Cause we can make it, or if we can't, we can put a ticket in where they can just pull that tenant name one time and just all the numbers. We ought to be able to get them to that.
We'll try to work.
High priority, but just so you know.
Yeah.
No, because we want to know too. We trying to figure, because one of the biggest things when I first got here, I was wondering why the public was not as engaged with the housing authority, you know. They would have openness, they'll say, come get a voucher, all this and that. It was always low participation, which is increased, but just finding out what was at the root of that was very interesting.
Well, I say not high priority because like I'm listening to all the things that you were talking about and everyone's been talking about and the amount of change that this organization has undergone in 1 year and the number of systems that you're either putting in place or implementing. I'm really surprised to not see you all just like looking red-eyed and haggard right now. Like I can imagine you are waiting for your holiday break. It sounds like you have been working tremendously hard. So thank you for doing that.
And I just want to add, a lot of you have to look at the geographical area of the properties that will contribute to who's on those wait lists, because people in Salinas will most likely only be in the geographic area of Salinas. They won't be in the ones in Monterey. It's very seldom. It could happen, but the chances of that happening are very small. Normally, when you see the properties in the wait list in the properties in the Monterey area, you won't see them in the Salinas area. And in Salinas, you're most likely to see them in our RAD properties or Haciendas properties. You might see those names in most of those sites, but you won't normally see them in South County or in Monterey, and vice versa.
So I have.
Other comments?
Good job.
Property management folks?
Thank you.
One thing that I think would be a helpful addition on the work order front would be a sense of timing. So how long did it take us to respond to a work order? I think from the perspective of a family would be, you know, I think would be important.
Yeah.
And for it to ultimately get resolved, right? Not just to like press a button and say, well, we started working on it, but when did it actually get fixed?
Yeah. So I will.
You know, for example, it looks like there's 115 pending work orders at Portola Vista.
Yeah, and that is, we implemented the new mobile maintenance with the staff. So we have one particular staff member that is having a hard time using that software, being able to close his work orders. So we're working with that staff member to help them learn the software and being able to close them.
It's a bad data, basically.
So on that particular property, that's why you see the high number, because that issue is happening, but we're working with that staff member and hopefully by next reporting period, that will change.
Great. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions on,
I have a question.
yes,
This is pertaining to Casanova Plaza. I was told that we are not allowed to have cameras on like in the hallways, only in the entryways and the entrance doorways. And we've had a lot of vandalism occurring in our property that is costing housing authority money, whether it be in repairs or there's somebody that keeps activating our fire alarm. At least I want to say once a week, maybe every other. It's just, and it usually happens when there are holiday vacations or the weekend. And if we had cameras in place in the hallways, we would be able to find out who is doing this. And I've talked to Monica and she just shrugged her shoulders and said, until we have proof, we can't do anything. As tenants, we suspect who it might be, but you can't, you know, I don't know that they would come forward, but it's really starting to become a stress issue on a lot of the tenants here. And I was wondering, is there anything we can do? Because we feel like our safety is at risk. Somebody just got oil spilled on their doorway on the third floor, overnight. And, we reported to Monica, and she was gonna have, maintenance, fix it. But, and the person that lives there, has, issues with, mobility, with walking. And so it's not a safe issue for her to leave her apartment because of that. And, it's, other than, making it aware of it, I don't know what else to say or do for, for everybody. Because it is getting old. When the alarm goes off, the fire alarm goes off, I just ignore it now because it's just another false alarm. And one day it's not going to be, and it's becoming a serious issue because it does happen more frequently than not. And I think the fire department's getting tired of it too. And I just wondered if there was a way to remedy this, or maybe put some kind of a visual cameras in here where we can see, who's doing what. It usually happens at night, late at night, like I want to say 11:30 on. One night it happened about 3:30 in the morning, and that's no way to live. So anyway,
Commissioner Goodwin, I want to apologize first of all for that. I was aware there was an issue with the alarm, but I was under the impression that it was resolved, and it had to do with a phone line. But if that issue has continued happening, then I'll have staff at the site tomorrow. And then we do have some cameras at the site. However, we don't have them on all hallways. That's something that I can look at and talk to the owner to see if we can implement additional cameras at the site and make sure they're all properly working and installed. So I will have staff on site tomorrow to look at that issue with the alarm. And I will talk to the owner about the cameras.
okay, yeah, because it's become a safety issue now. It's just, yeah, it's just, I mean, I don't think you would want to live like that. Any of you. And it happens more frequently than not. At least about once a week, maybe every other. And,
Okay. I appreciate it, Commissioner, and I'll have staff on site tomorrow.
I
to
really appreciate
assess
that. I really appreciate that.
Small
And thank you.
Comments, Ms. Francine, a lot of times stuff like that happen, the tenants have to make a group association so that you kind of patrolling and watching and then provide the information to the manager, because he gonna have issues when you put those cameras in the hallway. Somebody can say you violating their privacy if it's like pointed at their door, even though that's not what you intended to do. So you have to look at those type of laws. We might not be able to do that, but a lot of times the tenants will form their own association and kind of like take turns seeing what's going on. And then they just report it to the manager, and then the manager can take action because the report came from the tenant association or the tenant group. So that's just something else to think about too.
Yeah.
Okay. Monica feels her hands are tied because it's just hearsay.
So I think, so Commissioner Goodwin, it's super helpful for you to bring this up. I think it also speaks to kind of a larger question, which is, as a commissioner, there's so much that we don't see. And so it's always, when you bring these issues up with where you are, I think it helps us to kind of get under the hood a little bit and see, beyond the glossy reports, what's going on. So, one thing that Commissioner Ballesteros and I had worked on the ad hoc committee at one point was putting together, actually, you know what? No, it was you and I, Commissioner Goodwin. We were on the ad hoc committee making a survey, a resident survey, which obviously a lot of events happened in the past couple of years and we got derailed. But one of the things that, I was hoping we could talk about at this retreat was, it would be really great to get a comprehensive survey of residents and their experiences. And so I think that's something that we should, give some thought to. But you provide us with a helpful window into that.
Thank you. There's a lot of people that have complaints, and in their eyes, I guess they have a reason to complain. I mean, I don't know. I look at the glass half full, not half empty, and I appreciate being able to live here, and And when I have a request, it usually gets met, not because I'm me, but because that's how housing authority is. If it's within reason, but what's been going on here has just really got to stop. It's really getting on people's nerves, to say the least. And I just I kind of take things in stride more than the average person, maybe, but that it is getting to be a bit much. If there was a way we could legally address it, so that it can be remedied legally, and stopped somehow, it would be really helpful. I would appreciate it. And Jose, thank you so much for getting the front door going. They complain about that too, that that's going slow. And I, explained to them that, there's parts that need to be updated, and, that John is doing the best he can, to install everything. But you're always going to have, those people that are going to be complainers. And I try and, let them know that things are, moving along. But, it takes time, and the system is totally outdated, and you are doing your best to update it. So anyway, I want you to know that I'm in your corner. I really am. And, having to being a resident here, I sympathize with the tenants here, because there are things that are going on, and Monica's hands are tied, and I understand that. But she's aware of, every time the alarms goes off, and the fire department, I think, is getting tired of it. I think they feel like they need to park a truck out there and just wait for it to go off, because that's how frequent it is. It's
Yeah, that's helpful to bring.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate it. And once
Okay.
again, I apologize. We'll address that right away.
I know you're doing the best you can, but I just wanted to make you aware. Thank you for hearing me.
Okay, we are going to move on to the development.
Good evening, Commissioners. A few highlights. One highlight, our director is back as of today. So that's good news. I'm relieved. Other highlights, we are in the home stretch. We are scheduled to close to conversion on Thursday, the 30th. It's been a long road, and we've been pushing, and that's been the majority of what we've been working on with Zuleika over the last couple of months, and we're almost there. So we have our last call tomorrow, and if everything goes well and everything's been satisfied and all internal credit approvals come back, we'll be converting on the 30th. So that's great news. And along with the conversion, we'll get our third equity pay-in. So that's money coming back to the agency. There was a little bit of holdup with the city of Salinas getting our retainer released, because a lot of city staff was on vacation. So everything got into them well before the holiday, and they were trying to push to get it released. It didn't happen, but I got an email last Friday from the city staff committing to get it to us as soon as their staff comes back. So that's another highlight. Just to confirm, all 19 LP budgets were submitted on time to all our investors and all our compliance agencies. We've had no negative comments, a few approvals, a few follow-up questions, or overall everything went well. Our construction defect work is going on at Tynan Village. We're about 30% completed. One of the last beams will be replaced today, and then they're scheduling the envelope closure. And one last highlight, Zuleika and the development team has been meeting and having discussions with Night Development and a potential consultant partner. We have a few developments that we're looking at, and Ms. Zuleika will probably be sharing that information with the commissioners in more detail once it progresses to the next step, which will be an actual partnership. Everything else is included on the report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Questions from commissioners? This is exciting. It's exciting to see some options out there. Being a commissioner from that side of the county, but I want to push to see if we can get like a Monterey or a Pacific Grove site on there. arena, so, just to balance it out a little bit.
We're
I know-
exploring.
I know that, yeah, that's great. I just want to make sure that we're exploring everywhere. And, I know that in Monterey, we have a particularly friendly administration. So, but this is great. If there are no other questions on that item, we're going to move to the last information report, which is the housing program.
Okay. HCB. We spent $4.7 million in HAP. Let's see. October, we spent 62,000 in HAP for mainstream. 4,074,000 in HAP for EHB. And the mainstream incentive program that we had about $30,000. We spent all of it. And so we've helped a number of families to get housed. All of that money has been used up. And I think we only have about 5 vouchers left in mainstream will be close to 100%. Our FFS enrollment is picked up. We're keeping an eye on the RFTA so that we can do the lease ups and get those housed. The interims and annuals are on the steady pace. We only had about 5 that are late certifications, and it's not because of the staff. It was tenant issues to get paperwork in. Terminations is going down, and the number of voids is going down. We have 379 people out searching for housing. And that doesn't include EHB, but EHB we have 111. We did 154 HQS inspections. All of those got submitted to PIC. We're keeping an eye on the zero HAP families. That was one of the things that they got wrote up for in the audit. So we only had 8 for October. So we're keeping an eye on that to make sure that the people are exited out at the end of the 6-month period or put back on the program if they finances change. We also keeping a tighter eye on the abated units. We had a mass voucher event. It was here at the office. We did 118 people. It was very successful. We're still anticipating opening up the HCB waiting list in early 2024 because right now we only have about 300 people still on the list because we just recently sent out another 100 packets. PDBs, we had 684. For our leased and issued, we almost did it, for October, 358. I've been trying to get 100 for a minute, but 358. And then we leased up 78. And then for the EHBs, I want to just go into detail on that a little bit. So we initially had 269. HUD said 2 cutoff days. One was September the 30th. After September the 30th, anybody who had an EHB voucher and the voucher was terminated, you could not reissue it. So if somebody had got taken off the program for whatever reason, and it was after September the 30th, that voucher just went away. You could not get them another EHB. Another thing they looked at was how quickly you were housing people for a 180-day period. They call it the 1 and 1/80th rule. So when they did our numbers, we lost 4 vouchers. The reason being because at the beginning of the program, it was taking 76 days to house a person. So by their calculations, we weren't gonna be able to use the other 4 vouchers before the end of December. But that's old information because as of today, we are already at 259 for today, and then we still got 100 people looking. But we did lose those 4 vouchers. Another thing about EHB, the community been asking a question. We told them one time, but I think it was a miscommunication. When the COC did the allocation for Pajaro, they did it on their own and they allocated 30 EHB vouchers to Pajaro. I talked to the director who was there at that time and informed them, they're supposed to work with us because we're supposed to allocate the vouchers because they can't allocate the vouchers like that. But we would try to work with them for the 30 people. The COC has been going through a lot of changes and a lot of staff changes. So they've been really slow getting us the 30 people for the Pajaro. But now that we almost at 100% for EHB, they want to know, what are we going to do for the people who they now have for Pajaro? Because we can only go over our allocation a little bit because we're almost out of money. Because if we go over too much, they cut into our regular Section 8 money. And so that'll mess up the fees that the housing authority is getting. But due to the foresight of this board We already got a plan for the people for Pine Road, because if you remember, we passed a natural disaster preference for vouchers. So if they get the 30 people for Pine Road and send them in through EHV and the EHVs run out, we can issue them a regular Section 8 under that natural disaster as long as it's in that particular area, because we only did 2 areas. But we did the Pine Road area, so that shouldn't be a problem. But that's the way that we'll still be able to house the 30 individuals that was promised housing from the COC. So you might hear questions about it because they've been, asking, what is the housing authority gonna do? You don't have vouchers, this and that. Well, we had the foresight to prepare. So if they do come through with the people, we still can house them. It won't impact our EHV program. We won't have to spend any additional funds. It'll just come out our regular Section 8 program. And I'm gonna send an email to them again, letting them know, but I want to make sure that the board was aware, in case somebody asks or whatever, that is the plan. But I did also tell them that in the future, the COC needs to talk with us and we need to make plans together. So that way it'll be on both agencies' radar, and we'll make sure that we have space to do, whatever the promise is, because you don't want to give people false hope. But with that, we can do it, so it shouldn't be an issue. The FYI, we up to 3 people. So we having a lot more traction on that. Hopefully we'll get those 65 did. The VMS, we corrected it going all the way back to 2020. And so we're gonna go back to 2020, bring it all the way forward, we're gonna have it corrected before the end of December, so that we'll have all our correct numbers in there. That'll be one of the things that we said we was gonna do for the VMS corrective action plan. And that'll let HUD know what kind of shape we really in, because some of the numbers was off, but some of the months they didn't even report, so it's just zeros. And so we can go back and do that for this calendar year. The reason we're going back to 2020 is to bring it up with the correct numbers because of the special program, but we can only do the corrections as of January 2023. But that's fine. We just need to get it right so that our next allocation and award, it'll be based off our real numbers. Again, the CMAP, we got a standard. I normally wouldn't be so happy about a standard, but I think that was really good. I think the staff worked really hard to get that, because they started out, I think, like 2,600 inspections behind. The payment standards went out, it was a lot of issues, so a lot of that stuff got addressed. And so I think that standard rating is good. And then for our overall, we're at the time of this report, we were at 3,655 vouchers issued overall. And the VASH program is at 269. We've been working hard to do those whole 324. Mainstream was at 47 of the 59. We only have one more family unification. We'll get 100%. And EHB was at 240. And of the 269, which we're going to change it to 265 for the next 2 months. And then the 3 for the FYI. Another positive note for the HCV program, the FSF program is going very well. They have 95 participants. They started out with 60, 65. They graduated a couple of people. They made sure they met all the criteria. So that's going good. And then those people let us do their graduation, they influence other people to join in. They've done a lot of outreach. They working with Hartnell College, a lot of more community partners. And they also, one of the things I'm really looking forward to seeing them do, they're working with the local clinics to try to get the medical vans to come to each of the sites. And so, especially the senior sites, so they can come into the van and, get their vitals did, get their teeth cleaned, different stuff like that. So that's a work in progress, but I'm really excited for when they get that done. And let's see, other than that, I think that's pretty much it for the Section 8 report, unless anybody have any questions.
Questions for Zalika?
I guess more so an overall comment and kudos. I mean, I think Gabby showed it up on the screen there, and I'm looking at it here. The utilization rate, the trajectory of every single one of those categories is an indicator, in my opinion, of the market improvement in the performance. So thank you.
Thank you. We're working really hard. We were hoping to have it even higher, But, you know, with the holidays and everything, we just gonna shoot for a fantastic January. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to reiterate that as well. If you sort of like try to find the forest for the trees on this. Basically, as long as I've been here, that number is probably been like 68%.
Now,
And now it's not an accident that I think Zalika, you jumped in on a personal level. And now it's at 75%. What does that mean? It actually means like another 300 families have affordable housing in the county, right? Which is amazing. And the only other thing that's more amazing is that we could potentially help another 1,300 families, right? Which is what we're trying to do if we can move this in the right direction. And it's, you know, kind of beyond my expertise, exactly how it happens. My understanding is we push a little bit and then HUD sort of begrudgingly gives us some money over a couple of years and we eventually get to that top number. But all I know is that it's possible and you can see that the movement is happening. And then the only other number is just this going from 17 vouchers issued in May, which is when I think roughly when we made this personnel change, to 358 in October. I mean, that's like orders of magnitude, right? I mean, it's, you know, it really comes down to execution. So hats off to you and the team. I know people have been doing weekends, mass certification. So, you know, I mean, it's a huge difference. So great work.
And with the set aside money we got, remember we got the $18 million award. We can help another 1,100 families without even having to go into our regular Section 8 award. So we really pushing to do that. We're trying to get as close to that 5,000 as we can.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess if there are no further questions on Section 8, we're going to move to item 9, which is a closed session item. The Board of Commissioners will be in closed session for the following purpose and reason. Government Code Section 54956, 9 subsection B subsection 2. Closed session discussions relating to litigation involving. Okay, we're going to resume our meeting here, going back into open session. For item 9, for the closed session item, no action was taken. We're moving to item 10, commissioner comments. And we are going to start with Commissioner Anderson.
Let's see, so in listening to Commissioner Goodwin's comments about Casanova, it just made me wonder about how we are noticing our meetings and providing residents an opportunity to know that they can address the Board of Commissioners if needed. Make sure that we just make sure folks know that this meeting's happening and they have a virtual option if they wanted to come address us. And then I've noticed that we have a vacancy on the commission. I think it's a tenant commissioner seat. I'm just wondering what process is in place to fill that vacancy.
Well, it's for a resident, so the property management staff is reaching out to all the residents to see who would like to join. And then they're getting resumes or letters of interest. And what I believe had to happen next is we get that to the board and then the board makes a decision and that person is appointed on. So that's where we at, but we just been trying to get a resident to take.
We haven't really had a lot of interest so far. There's just a couple of people that have expressed some interest, but they haven't submitted documents or resumes or nothing to us yet. We'll send a follow-up letter in the next week, just so that, you know, we can remind people that the position is available. And, you know, we'll wait to see if there's any response on it.
Oh, that'd be great, because I think it's just like Chair Booter said, just, you know, having an opportunity to hear from the residents, their perspective as we're having our conversation is really important. And then I just wanted to offer some appreciation. So my day job sometimes crosses path with my role here as a volunteer, and it just had really positive experiences with the the rest of commissioners to know, people reaching out to the District 4 supervisor who are residents and or have vouchers or whatnot, being able to connect them with HACM staff and DSS and just getting really, good response from the team in terms of looking to follow up and see what's going on and trying to support the residents who that we serve. So I just wanted to offer that appreciation and know that from my day job, it's very much appreciated to know that they're good people and we've reached out to them.
Commissioner.
Yes, thank you. Would like to thank the meetings that I had with staff. I found it to be very valuable. We on a one-to-one via through Zoom, so thank you. I look forward to meeting with the other staff members that I haven't yet met. But again, the word is out that I now sit on the board. So a lot of my residents are coming to my shop and asking for information, which I think is really good. It's good to have that type of a connection. And so I'm always happy to be able to provide them with that information. So, and I want to wish everyone a happy holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Goodwin.
I just want to thank the staff for and the commissioners for hearing my comments and concerns, and for the staff's very hard work, because I know what you do is not easy. And thank you, and I really appreciate everything that you do. And if I don't hear from you again, I guess I want to wish you a Merry Christmas too, if we don't see each other again.
Thank you, Commissioner Goodwin. Commissioner Healy.
Congratulations, very much appreciated. Thanks to Monica for her 15 years of service, and congratulations to Diane. And thank you, of course, to the staff. I really am in awe of the changing trajectory, improvement in performance overall of the agency. So thank you to all.
Thank you, Commissioner Healy. Commissioner Ballesteros.
I want to say congratulations to Monica Carrillo for her 15 years of service and for her dedication to the agency and all the clients that she serves. And also thank you to Zulika and her staff, the tremendous work that you do daily. And if you could please pass that our thankfulness to them for all the work that I don't see them do, but they're serving our community, and it is appreciated. So while I sit at home enjoying retirement, and I just want to say there are a lot of people that need help. There is, and just seeing the homeless going to England, and I didn't see anybody homeless but one lady that I saw. Out of being there that 6 days, I saw one person, and the only thing I could give her was my scarf, because I seen how cold she was, and she told me putting that scarf on her was putting a blanket over her. So sometimes we're allowed those experiences to see how fortunate many of us are, and those that are less fortunate. So just wanted to convey that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ballesteros. Yeah, I think I would echo a lot of those comments. I think we've made a lot of progress, in a few different areas. We've got audits that are getting up to date, we've got finances that are getting up to date. And I think the most important piece is we found, housing for an extra 300 families,
Yes.
right? And we know there's another 1,300 that we can help. 1,300 on a base of right now, 3,500, 3,600, right? So it's like a big jump. So, we've made a lot of progress, but there's more work to be done. But it's all very possible. So, yeah, I'm excited about the work to come, and this board review, I think, will be great for us to, as a board, step back and get some strategic direction and some altitude on some of the big initiatives that, can help us move forward. With that, I think we're going to adjourn the meeting here at 7:10 p.m. And then Gabby, I'm assuming we're staying in the same meeting for the HDC meeting?
Yes.
Great. I'm going to turn it over to Chair.
Francine.
Francine.
Okay. I'll call the meeting to order at 7:10 PM on November 27th, 2023. Roll call,
Chair Francine Goodwin,
present.
Vice Chair Yuri Anderson. Here. Director Kathleen Ballesteros.
Present.
Director Hans Buder.
Present.
Director Maria Rosebud.
Present.
And Director Kevin Healy.
Present.
That concludes the roll call vote.
Comments from the public, if any?
No one in person, anyone on the line?
No?
None.
Okay. Consent agenda items, on the consent agenda are considered routine and therefore do not require separate discussion. However, if discussion is necessary, or if a member of the public wishes to comment on any on any item, the item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Questions for clarification may be made by directors without removal from the consent agenda. The consent agenda is adopted in one motion. Minutes for approval of the minutes of the HDC board meeting held on October 23rd, 2023.
Second.
I'm not sure who approved and seconded. Okay, thank you. I have a hard time hearing over here. Okay. Okay, approved by Commissioner Healy and seconded by Maria Ocozo. Is that correct?
Orozco. Maria's fine.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, I do the roll call vote for Ms. Francine.
roll call.
Chair Francine Goodwin,
Yes,
Vice Chair Yuri Anderson,
Yes.
Director Ballesteros.
I will abstain because I was not present.
Oh, okay. Director Buder,
Yes.
Director Roscoe.
Yes.
And Director Healy.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes the roll call vote.
thank you. Next, item 5, property management report. I believe we did that already.
Yes, ma'am.
There's nothing to add to the report unless the board has any questions.
Okay, thank you, Jose. Okay, development report.
Nothing to add as well, unless there's any questions.
Okay, we're at director comments at this point. Let's see, we'll start with Commissioner Healy.
No additional comments. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Buder.
No additional comments.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Ballesteros.
Thank you to all the staff and for all the reports.
Okay, and Commissioner Maria.
No additional comments.
Okay, and Commissioner Anderson.
No additional comments.
And I have no additional comments myself. Did I miss anybody?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right, all right. I guess that's an adjournment at 7:14. Correct?
Yeah, good job. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
That was the most efficient.